Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? It's Proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. This is your guest host, Big Easy, filling in for the one and only Jim Sella, alongside our senior baseball analyst, Jay Dash. We're going to keep it rolling here and continue to break down the AL West. We've already spoken about the Oakland A's. I forgot to mention their uniforms. Classic, wonderful uniforms.
Like the uniforms.
Love their uniforms. And we already spoke about the Los Angeles Angels. Angels in the outfield. That movie was fine. It was throwback.
Yeah.
Because I'm the senior MLB uniform correspondent. Forgot to mention that before, too. But we're going to talk about the Texas Rangers here. And boy, weren't they something last year.
Yeah, please believe it. Did a lot better than most people thought.
With our old coach out there, Mr. Bannister, he did a fine job.
Well, I mean, you look a few years ago, they had that big season, and then they were a real letdown, so everybody thought they were going to be terrible the next season as well, but they stepped up and had a pretty good season. If they wouldn't have lost Yu Darvish, man, things might have been totally different with them. They brought in Cole Hamels at the deadline, so they brought in another ace without Darvish, you know what I mean? And now they got Darvish back, so their 1-2 looks beast right now. And they look like a pretty good team at this point. Some of the signings they made, outfielder Justin Ruggiano, he's always been an outfielder, and he's probably going to be a fourth, fifth outfielder for them this season. But they're also saying he could play some first base. He's never played there before. It would be in a platoon situation, though, with Mitch Moreland, obviously. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But Ruggiano isn't a terrible baseball player, a very good fourth outfielder. They signed first baseman Ike Davis to a minor league deal, see if he can make the team. Because, I mean, they have a little bit of questions at first base. Mitch Moreland didn't have a terrible season or anything, but Prince Fielder they don't want him playing too much first base these days. They want him more at DH. Although, like I say, you may see him there a little bit this season. They signed catcher Michael McHenry as well. That's your boy, the Fort.
There's nothing wrong with the Fort. I always thought he was a solid major leaguer, but Ike Davis can catch a bus back to wherever he came from because that dude's garbage.
Yeah, it was just a minor league deal, man.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to make the team or not.
He don't even deserve it.
They brought in shortstop Ian Desmond, although they're not going to be playing him at shortstop. They brought him in to play at left field this season. This is a guy that strikes out a ton. His numbers look good at shortstop, though, because he has power. I just don't know. Moving from shortstop to left field, those numbers look a little bit worse. You know what I mean? So I don't know how well he's even going to play left field. So there's a lot of questions about what you're going to get out of Ian Desmond this season. Outside of some power, I mean, he's either going to strike out or hit a home run probably. They signed second baseman Pedro Siriaco, outfielder Drew Stubbs. That was another minor league deal. They signed a couple pitchers here. Jeremy Guthrie and A.J. Griffin. A.J. Griffin was a minor league deal, so one of those guys can make the back end of this rotation here possibly, or just add some depth for him. And they re-signed Colby Lewis, starting pitcher Colby Lewis. He's going to be in the rotation this season, obviously. And they traded for relief pitcher Tom Williamson. They gave up Leonis Martin, though. This is still a pretty young guy, a pretty good outfielder. He's not a beast or anything. He didn't progress exactly how I thought he would. Had somewhat of a down season last year. Sent him to Seattle, though, for Wilhelmsen, like I was saying before. So their bullpen looks pretty decent this season, actually, with some depth, and that's a part of it right there. But I don't like losing Leonis Martin for him necessarily. But their outfield, I mean, they got a lot of depth in the outfield right now, so they did what they had to do. They lost first baseman Mike Napoli to free agency, lost outfielder Will Venable to free agency, and lost relief pitcher Ross Ohlendorf to free agency. That's your boy, too.
Yeah, he's worthless.
They didn't necessarily lose Tanner Scheppers, but he is going to be out at least half the season or until the All-Star break, maybe. And that is one of their better pieces in his bullpen as well. Although, like I said, it's pretty deep. So once they get him back, it's going to be that much deeper. So let's take a look at this team here. Like I said, you got Ian Desmond in left. You got a lot of questions with him, but at least you're going to have some power out there. The line of DeShields, he was a Rule 5 pick last season, and he was able to stay on the roster the full season. And this is a guy, he has a ton of speed. He's going to steal a ton of bases for you. He hit pretty well last season, better than they thought he would actually. And he can take the walk as well. So this guy has a ton of value, plays good center field. So I really like this guy. Not that he's a superstar or anything, but he has, like I said, he's young and he has a lot of room to improve as well. This was a great Rule 5 pick out of the Houston organization. And they still have Chu as well, a very good outfielder, has been very good over the course of his career, really. He can hit for some power. He'll steal a couple bases here and there for you or whatever, but all around, he's just a very good player. So your outfield looks pretty solid at this point if Desmond can step up and play solid left field, obviously. You have a ton of prospects in the outfield, though, man. So they're going to have to make some room for some of these guys. First of all, you had Joey Gallo. He's a third base / outfielder, but he was a top prospect. But I really had a lot of questions about this guy. They kind of said he was better than Miguel Sano, but not as good as Chris Bryant. But he had huge power like both of them. But he Ks way too much. And he really needs to change his approach for that power to apply in the big leagues. I mean, he's just striking out too much right now. And if he can hone that in a little bit, then his power, 40 home run power potential could break out. But we'll have to see that. They're also thinking about playing him in the outfield as well. So if Desmond doesn't work out, I mean, they gave this guy some money, though. So I don't know what they're trying to do, but they got to find some room for him. And that is if he hits, like I was saying. But no more Mazzara. They're definitely going to have to find some room for this guy. He's 20 years old. He turns 21 in April. But they're pushing this guy real fast through the system. Between Double A and Triple A last year, he hit 296 with a 366 on base, 14 home runs, 52 walks compared to 102 Ks and 490 at bats. He's had double-digit home runs each of the past 3 seasons. This guy looks like a very good player, and they're going to need to find somewhere that this guy can fit into this lineup at some point this season, hopefully. I mean, I guess you could let him wait a season. He's still very young, so he still has a lot of time ahead of him. But, I mean, he's producing in every level. And like I said, he produced in Triple A already at a very young age. So they got to find somewhere for him. And Lewis Brinson, another outfielder, 21 years old. He's pretty much ready as well. Between Advanced Double A and Triple A last year, pushing him through fast as well. He hit 332 with a 403 on base, 20 jacks, 31 doubles, had 18 stolen bases, 44 walks compared to just 98 Ks and 398 at bats. So this guy looks like he does everything pretty well. Maybe K's a tiny bit too much, but every other number looks great to me. The counting stats, the average, the on-base percentage. He has a career 283 average with a 356 on base in the minors as well. So he's done it pretty much at every level. But this guy's ready as well. So I don't know. They're going to have to find some room for some of these guys somehow. I don't know if they're counting on injuries or what they're doing. Plus, you got Josh Hamilton. I don't know if you'd want him at DH, but you got Prince Fielder you want at DH. So Hamilton would have to play the field. All kinds of questions. You got Ryan Rua. He's definitely the 6th outfielder on his team, and he can play some third base as well. Maybe you see him there or whatever. But a lot of stuff going on here. Then in the infield, you could play Joey Gallo, but you also got a Gold Glove winner, an All-Star and future Hall of Famer in Adrian Beltre, one of the best third basemen of my lifetime, definitely. Yours too. I think he just hit over 400 home runs last season. This guy's still a very good player, so as long as he's healthy, I'd have to believe he's going to be in the lineup. Maybe you move him to first base eventually, though, and then that makes room for Gallo. Shortstop, Elvis Andrus is still a young player, even though he's been around for a while, it seems like, and he's always been a good player as well. Had some very good seasons, kind of tailed off a little bit for a couple years, had a pretty solid season last year. Rougned Odor, everything was talk about Jurickson Profar at second base. That's the future of the Texas Rangers. He couldn't stay healthy, and now he's lower on the depth chart. I don't even know if he's going to be on a 25-man roster this season. I'd like to see that guy get a chance to start somewhere, but there's just no room for him. Rougned Odor stepped up last season, and he has a chance to be one of the top second basemen in baseball if he can just take a few more walks maybe. Outside of that, he gives you a little bit of everything, and he's a good second baseman and looks like the better player than Profar at this point. And like I said, at first base, they have some questions. They have some options. Mitch Moreland, like I said, he didn't have a terrible season last year. Hit 278 with a 330 on base, but had 23 home runs. So it's a pretty good ball player there. But you, like I said, you have other options there as well. Maybe Beltre moves over there. If Gallo can start to hit, maybe you want to try Gallo there. Who knows? And Prince Fielder can play there as well. So worst comes to worst, you have something that can replace Moreland. But again, Moreland's been a pretty good player over the course of his career here, and pretty good last season. So I think he has a chance to stay at first base. But I mean, I'm just mentioning him because I like everything they have around here. Maybe outside of catcher Robinson Chirinos, you could do a little bit better there. But outside of that, I really like what they have going on offensively. Then you look at the rotation, man. It wasn't terrible last season, but it was just missing something, and that something was definitely Yu Darvish. Like I said, they brought in Cole Hamels at the deadline, but now if Darvish can come back, he's going to be out until May, so he's going to be out a month, maybe even longer. We'll have to see, but I did see he was pitching recently, so it looks like he's well on his way back. But Hamels and Darvish at the top end, I mean, you can't get much better than that if Darvish pitches like he did before he got injured, obviously. But Colby Lewis, Derek Holland, Martin Perez at the back end, those aren't terrible names or anything. I mean, you can fill that in at 3, 4, and 5 and be okay with it. They're not studs or anything. Like I said, they brought over Jeremy Guthrie as well. Maybe he slots in at the back end somewhere as well. They have a couple of starting pitchers that you could see this season, but you're probably seeing them in the bullpen. They did pitch out of the bullpen last season. Andrew Faulkner and Luke Jackson each had a couple appearances in the bullpen. Faulkner, 11 relief appearances for Texas last year, a 2.79 ERA, 10 Ks compared to 3 walks. So he might stick there because he was starting and relieving in the minors. It looks like that's the way they're going to go with him because he's not a beast or anything. Same with Luke Jackson, 24 years old. Had a 4.29 career ERA in the minors, 563 Ks, though, in 522.1 innings, though he walks way too many people, 259. So that's why you see him in the bullpen. Again, another guy that started and came in relief in the minor leagues. He had a 4.26 ERA in 7 relief appearances last season with the big league club. Wasn't as good as Andrew Faulkner, but you'll see him a little bit this season as well. But I like what they have going on in the rotation. The bullpen, I'd like a better closer maybe, but Sean Tolleson isn't the worst in the world. Doesn't walk too many people. K's over 1 per inning out of the bullpen, so he's not terrible. Jacob Diekman's a good left-handed reliever. Keona Kella's the one I want to see step up, a very young guy still. They think he can be a closer at one point. They brought over Tom Wilhelmsen. I mentioned that before, so there's an addition to it. Nick Martinez. And again, Faulkner, Luke Jackson. So they have some depth here in the bullpen. Sam Dyson. They have a lot of options here. So I see this as a very deep team. Like I said, maybe outside of, well, I guess even first base is kind of deep. I don't know why I don't like Mitch Moreland. It's just me. Texas fans are probably just happy with Mitch Moreland. I don't know what it is about him. I just don't like him. He's still somewhat young, too. I mean, he's not very young, but he's in his prime right now. Maybe I'm being an idiot. Mitch Moreland's a good player.
Mitch Moreland, you're garbage. No, that's it. They got the depth, and they had a successful, season last year. Very successful when people weren't expecting
nice bounce back season.
Yeah, people weren't expecting it. So, I mean, there's really no pressure on them. And third base is solid.
Third base is solid.
Yeah.
I like what they have at second base. And shortstop, you got to. He's been consistent over the years. I mean, there's questions in the outfield. Is DeShield's going to be able to do what he did last season? This guy wasn't really a top prospect, really, in the Houston organization. Although his numbers look good when he was in the minors, but he's continued here in the bigs what a lot of people thought he wouldn't be able to do. So there's a lot going on here. But again, Joey Gallo, Nomar Mazar, Lewis Brinson, maybe they're all outfielders, but they got to find room for these guys, and that might be one of the top 3 trios of prospects in all of baseball.
Well, I don't see where Josh Hamilton fits in here at all.
Yeah, me neither, really,
so
man.
What's
He's
he
actually
doing there?
He's actually going to start the season on a DL. He has knee issues or whatever, but you're right. I mean, there has to be some injuries here, and some of these prospects got to have bad seasons. I just don't see room for Josh Hamilton in this lineup or even on the 25-man roster, really, because you don't want to pay that guy too much money to just sit there, do you?
Right.
Texas Rangers, though, man, they look good to me, especially if Yu Darvish can. He doesn't even have to pitch like he did before the injury, because really, before he had Tommy John, he was maybe the best pitcher in all of baseball. Clayton Kershaw, you could say, probably better than him, but Darvish struck out so many people, man, over 200 Ks every single season. So when he comes back, Cole Hamels, Yu Darvish, that's a perfect 1 and 2. And again, we did segments last season talking about some of these guys like Colby Lewis and Derek Holland. They're not big names or anything, but they just perform well. And it gives them great depth. And I think this rotation from top to bottom, as long as Darvish can stay healthy, is going to be good this season. Outside of maybe Martin Perez, he's had his ups and downs as well. We'll have to see how he pitches this season. But again, I like the rotation. I think the offense looks great. The bullpen looks deep, if not beast. So I'm going to say...
Beast pen.
I'm going to go second place this season.
Second place for the Texas Rangers.
Texas Rangers,
with that beast pen. Well, and talking about rotations here, we've already talked about Oakland. We've already talked about Los Angeles. Now, it looks to me on paper that Texas has the better rotation than those two teams.
And maybe the better offense if you take away, well, you can't take away Mike Trout, but
right.
With Mike Trout and Albert Pujols, that gives Los Angeles an advantage. But depth-wise, I really like
if your boy
Texas.
Double M can step up.
Mitch Moreland.
Yeah, if your boy Double M can step up, and then that lineup is potent.
I want to know what happens if Jerkson Profar steps up and become. I mean, this guy was the number one prospect in baseball at one point, man. He just kept getting injured, and then people just started passing him. You know what I mean? Odor was a top 50 prospect maybe, and he just passed Profar up when Profar couldn't stay healthy. But if Profar turns into what we hope he can, then they have no room for some of these guys, and they're going to have to make a deal. Maybe they trade Profar.
Trade him to Los Angeles Angels.
Yeah, maybe deepen this rotation a little bit even more.
Well, I think only a couple games are going to separate the first and second team in this division. And I'm going to agree with you. I'll give Texas the second spot.
So
but it's going to be
the
by
division's going to stay in Texas.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's just going to be by a matter of a couple games, though. It's going to be a very tight finish for this division.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Texas winning this division just because of Cole Hamels, the first full season with him. We haven't seen Texas with two ace starters over the past couple of years, even when they were good a few years ago.
Right.
That's about it, though, man. We're both saying second place. I wonder what Jim says. Actually, I heard him say he's not very high on Texas.
Dude, nothing.
So
Yeah, he was down.
We'll
down Texas. Well, that's going to do it for our preseason breakdown of the Texas Rangers in the AL West. If you got any questions or comments, hit us up on Twitter.
At bet_the_spread, or you could hit Jim up at betjim2win. That's Jim to win with the number 2. You can also check us out at youtube.com/betthespread. Hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/betthespread.
People from Texas, hit us up. Let us know. Are you ashamed that the Houston Astros are going to beat you down this year?
Ooh.
Wrap it up. We're going to get back at you. We got to talk about
two more teams.
We
got the Houston Astros, and we have the Seattle Mariners.
So tune in.